Hey folks, my name's Ed Trevors. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm an Anglican priest serving in the beautiful parish of St. Margaret of Scotland that sits on the ancestral and on the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, Gwe. The other day I released a video about Tucker Carlson's fascinations with the footwear of a couple of M&Ms. And I talked a little bit about, what does our message actually mean, and that our message should always be used to build things up. Anyway, one of the comments on that video really grabbed my attention. What it said is this: as you said, it makes people billions of dollars, something I said in the video. Please keep in mind that prosperity and procreation were the pillars of Christianity. How do you, or anyone, build something good and right on a rotten, corrupt foundation? Awaiting your reply. So there's two things here. The first is I don't accept that the pillars of Christianity, that the pillars that Christianity was built upon were prosperity and procreation, even if they were just two of many pillars. The church was built on the teachings of Jesus Christ. And I'm saying this not as a church historian. I'm saying this as a student and lover of the Bible. I'm saying this as a believer. As idealistic as I might be, as naive as I might be, I'm saying this as someone who finds most of their information about the early formation of the church from the end chapters in the four Gospels and from the book of Acts and the epistles. The church, in my study, was formed originally on the teachings of Jesus Christ. To love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and body. Love your neighbor as yourself. It was formed on the premise that we should be there for one another, that we should create community, that we should take care of each other, that we should endeavor to love God through service to our neighbor. That God wanted a more simple and a more powerful and a new kind of relationship with us, that it didn't require jumping through any hoops, but rather just simple acceptance of God's love. Acceptance that Jesus was the Son of God. The church was formed as a way of bringing people together and helping people let go of their burdens, whatever those burdens happen to be. I'm sure, because I'm about to say it a little bit, but I'm sure at some point prosperity, which we still see as one of the lures of the church today in some places, and procreation, again, another lure we see offered out there to the masses by some churches today. I'm sure that at some point, very early on, the church twisted. And it began to build itself on pillars that Jesus never ever talked about. Now, with all that being said, come back to the question. How do you, or anyone, build something good and right on a rotten, corrupt foundation? Because we know that the history of the church is filled. I was going to use the word marred, but it's not marred. It's filled with instances, dark, awful, horrific instances, horrific, genocidal instances. We as church have done some really, really horrible things. We have murdered, we have oppressed, we have stolen. We have committed some of the most heinous crimes. There is rot in our foundation. There is corruption in our foundation. And so I like the question, how do you or anybody build something good, build something right on this thing that was, on this foundation? Well, there's two things that I do. The first is that I'm willing to read, I'm willing to study. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to explore the past. I'm willing to look at all the great things the church has done. I'm willing to look at all the wonderful things, all the miraculous things that individuals have done in the name of Jesus Christ. And I'm also willing to look at the horrible things. Because if I'm willing to look at who we are and where we've come from, then I can help myself and my congregation and my diocese and anybody else that I come into contact with. I can help them to engage in doing those healthy things, those powerful things, those wonderful things, and I can help them to avoid doing the awful things. I can help myself and those around me to keep us from falling into those traps. To say no when we are tempted by similar or the same things. Greed is a big one. The other thing that I do to build upon that shaky foundation is that I hope. I believe this stuff. I'm a believer. I get told all the time by some Christians that I'm not, but I am. I love Jesus Christ. I love the Gospels. I love what they contain. I love the stories. I love the grace. I love the simplicity, and I love the challenge. I believe with all my heart that the gospel of Jesus Christ, the good news of Jesus Christ, has everything we need to see global transformation. And I know you're thinking, oh yeah, everybody needs to be converted. Absolutely not. I believe the gospel, to somebody who is reading it with an open mind, with an open heart, who's willing to embrace the message that it offers, I believe the gospel can change everyone. I believe the gospel can be a catalyst for growth with everyone. I believe that the most ardent atheist can read the Gospels, completely dismissing any notion that Jesus be the Son of God, and can find meaning, and can find mission, and can find a path upon which they can walk to grow. I believe that the power of the gospel has the ability to soften the most hardened religious heart. I believe the power of the gospel transcends language. I believe that it transcends belief. I believe that it transcends denominations. I believe that the power of the gospel, I believe that the gospel is the greatest thing we've ever encountered. That if we're just willing to listen to it, we're just willing to engage in it, we will find mission and purpose and meaning. We will find our way forward. And again, I don't mean simply from a religious perspective, though in the same way. I believe that if a person is looking for God, they can find God in those words as well. That they can have that mystical, mysterious, spiritual transformation. That they can see a path straight into the arms of God. So how do I or anybody build on a shaky, corrupted, rotten foundation? Go back to the basics. Remember where this all started. Remember why. Be true to that. Whatever else may come, be true to that. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray that we would always have the courage to look past. And I pray that we would always have the courage to look into our past for a better future. And I pray that no matter where we come from, we would always be willing to keep working towards a brighter future. Regardless of how shaky the foundation, we would be willing to keep trying, to keep going, to keep loving. Amen. Numultus.